Hi, and welcome back to the Green Evangelist. Another beautiful day here in Kiambu in central Kenya. Today, I'm in a place called Kasphat. Now, Kasphat is an area that has experienced transformation. Believe it or not, about 20, 30 years ago, this whole area of Kasphat was a coffee estate. And in the last 2 decades, it's changed dramatically. What happened is that the coffee estate was part of a big scheme, and then they subdivided the land. I guess they were shareholders, and people got assigned or allocated different pieces of land. So the titles were issued out for quarter-acre plots, for half-acre plots, for an eighth, that kind of thing. And that led to the transformation of Kasphat to what you see today. In the last few years, it started like this. As you can see, this is just open land where people are doing small scale farming. So somebody has grown maize, there is some bananas there. This was very typical. But now, in the last 2 decades or so, the place is changing a lot. What we are seeing more of is people building very nice houses, like the one that's over there. There's even two nicer houses in this other direction. The reason why Kasphat is changing, or one of the main reasons why Kasphat is changing so much, is because it has this good road network. So when they subdivided the coffee estate, they created these roads that cut in between the plots. So it's starting to shape like a suburb would. So you have streets, and they actually have street names, something that's very unusual. So today, when you go around Kasphat, you notice that there is another huge change that's happening. And there is the roads that were cut when the scheme was subdivided, which you can see now. Most of those roads were dirt roads. As you can see, the one here is a dirt road. The other one here is a dirt road. But right now, in the last year, as I've been here, there's been another big transformation, and that's been the tarmacking of the roads in Kasphat, in Kanunga, but mostly in Kasphat. So this week on the Green Evangelist, we've been continuing a series talking about how urbanization, rapid urbanization, or what I prefer to call the urbanization crisis in Africa, is transforming land, and it's transforming the land as ecological infrastructure. So the premise is that the land that we see here, when it's under agriculture, when it's under its natural conditions, it's not built up environment, provides very vital environmental services. The kind of services include storing carbon, producing food, providing, being able to feed the water table, because when it rains, the water gets in the ground and finds its way to underground rivers that then feed our water table. And that's good because it means we avoid flooding. It's also good because it means that we have water security to a certain extent. So there's no doubt that land as ecological infrastructure is important. But what we're seeing with urbanization is that there's a lot of changes that are now kind of changing the way the land and the people interact. So that's ecology. And the ecological functions of the land are getting transformed as well, particularly when we have tarmacked roads. So today I'll go and show you a little bit how this area is changing. As I said, you can see the beautiful homes that people who bought land here have been able to build. It's amazing. It's an up-and-coming suburb. This is the epitome of urbanization in Africa. This is what you're going to have more and more of. Places like that are like this, or places that were like this, that were mostly agricultural and rural, are transforming. They're changing rapidly to become suburbs, to become towns. They're getting urbanized at an incredible rate. So one of the ways that urbanization accelerates is through a better road network. So they've been doing a lot of road construction. We'll take a short tour of the road construction. And as you come with me, you can also see that we are at the end, at the edge of the tea plantation. So this used to be where the tea and the coffee met. This whole direction was a coffee estate, and that other direction was a tea estate. Now the tea estate is still intact, at least for now. I'm willing to bet that in about 20 years, you're unlikely to find tea there. My suspicion is that it will eventually get subdivided, and we'll have houses, we'll have the expansion of Kasphat in that direction. But we'll take a walk and go see the tarmac road, how is changing the place even more, and how that's adding value to the properties that are here. Really good things happening. But underneath that story, there is also the question of what's happening to the environmental services that the land provides before it's tarmacked. So let's take a walk. Here we are. This is the exciting developments that we are having here in Kiambu, in Kanunga, in Kasphat. There's a lot of excitement about this road. The story goes that next year is the election year, and so the people in power, Kiambu County government and the MPs and the politicians, are always trying to push this kind of projects the year before elections because they want to be seen to be doing a good job, and so that they can get another 5 years to be in office. But that aside, the people who live here are really excited that their neighborhood is getting tarmacked roads, because that's going to mean it makes it easier for them to get around. And it also sometimes means that there might be even public transport. It might be easier to catch maybe a matatu, or sometimes even for Uber to come and get you. Because before that, these places are seen as very interior. So when the road's not good, people don't feel like that neighborhood is as appealing or as accessible. So there's a lot of good things happening with roads. And I'm not even here to say that we should not tarmac roads. But I think the concern that I see as the green evangelist is the question that we are raising of what happens to our land when we pave over the land. For now, we've put tarmac here, and that's going to have an effect on the environment. So I've watched them as there was a Chinese contractor who came with his crew, mostly Kenyans who work for, I think the company is Chinese, that was doing the road construction. And it was interesting to see how they went from the dirt roads to what we have now. They had to start with leveling where they were going to tarmac. So in some cases, that meant that they had to dig, excavate a big part of the road and haul that dirt somewhere. And in other cases, it meant that they needed to bring in the kind of dirt that they want to be building the tarmac road on. So there was a lot of movement of trucks, of caterpillars and all this. There was also a lot of digging. So you can see there's this big trench that's now been left because they had to raise the level of the road so that they can tarmac it and it can be flat. So we will see how that has impacted the environment. One of the things that happened is that as they were excavating, they would try to find places to go and dump the debris. Some of that debris has been dumped in wetlands around this Kanunga, Kasphat area. So that's really concerning because we are supposed to be preserving our wetlands. We are supposed to be protecting them. At least that's what the law says. But in practice, it seems like the Chinese contractors would find the easiest way, the cheapest way to get rid of the dirt. So we'll see that the small wetlands around here, what would happen is that the people who live around that wetland would invite the contractors, and the contractors would go around asking people, do you want dirt? Do you want excavated waste? And people would say, oh yeah, bring it. If you fill it in the wetland that's next to my piece of land, it will not flood anymore, because in their eyes, it's not a wetland, it's a place that floods. And they'd like to reclaim that land so either they can farm on it or they can build on it. So that has been one of the impacts of paving this road on the environment. Another impact is to think about stormwater management. Before, when it would rain, the water would come and land on a dirt road like that. And when it's a dirt road like that, the water usually will just start seeping into the ground. Now that it's tarmacked, the water will not be able to seep into the ground. The water will need to keep moving, trying to find the ground within which it can penetrate. So this right here is going to be interesting to watch when it rains heavily, because it means that there's be a lot of storm water that's coming down the road, coming down the slope. And the thing about managing water and soil, to prevent soil erosion, you want water to travel at a very, storm water at least when it rains, you want it to travel at a very controlled speed, at a very slow speed, and you want it to travel very short distances. What's going to happen here when it rains? It's going to be the exact opposite of that. Water is going to travel at a very high speed, and it's also going to travel very long distances. And so it gathers momentum, and it comes with a force. And as the water is finding its way to the lowest point, it's going to carry with it a lot of soil and also a lot of waste that ends up in our trenches. You can see they're still working on this, so I don't want to say that it's complete, but a lot of what I see is that the way the roads are done, they don't always do the storm drains very well. So in this case, it's not paved, which means if it rains, there'll be a lot of soil erosion. A lot of the soil that you've seen that's being held by the T will be at risk of eroding. So the truth is, building and tarmacking these roads is great for development, and most people are excited about that. But I think that there is another conversation that we need to have, and it's a conversation about what kind of future do we want to have. Because if we don't think about how tarmacking this road and many other roads in Kiambu that are being tarmacked, that have been tarmacked, that will be tarmacked, then we start putting our future at risk. The truth is, I don't see the environmental impact assessments. At least it's very difficult to come across public information that tells you that this was an assessed risk to the environment when they were planning this project. This is the way they've monitored that risk during the completion of the project, and this is the plan for monitoring how this project will impact the environment. So those are the kind of things that we'd want to see. We'd want to see our policymakers ensure that those kind of things are happening. And we also want to see our institutions really monitor the impact that this road construction is having, not just on the economic development, but also on the ecological infrastructure. So it will be an interesting space to watch. We've talked about this on the Green Evangelist this week. I did write an article just unpacking this issue of how tarmacking of roads or paving of so many surfaces that comes with urbanization is impacting our environment, and some of the considerations that we need to be discussing about, and also things that we actually need to start doing very, very soon. So this becomes part of my field notes. This is part of just me taking you on a tour to show you what's happening in Kiambu, in Africa, as rapid urbanization unfolds, and as we try to find a way to green Africa's urban future. So one of the ways in which road construction in Kiambu, in the area where you saw of Kasphat, in the Kanunga area, is having an impact on the environment is through places like this. This is a small wetland. It's a small swamp. In a good rainy season, it fills up with water up to a good level, and you'll come here and find ducks, storks, all manner of beautiful birds that come and enjoy this habitat. Right now, we didn't have a really good short rain season, so you can see there's still water because you can see the papyrus is growing. Some of the vegetation that you'd find in wetlands is still visible. And as we wait for the rains to come, the long rains to come, hopefully we'll have a good rainy season around April. This place will come back to life. But this is what has been happening in the meantime. As they were excavating to build the roads, they started to dump some of that debris. Some of that construction debris is now dumped here. You can tell it's a mixture of rocks and marram and all manner of soil. Now, let me see if I can get closer. Yeah, you can tell they've even cut down some trees. I'm not sure why they cut down the trees, but this kind of wetland is supposed to be protected, at least according to our laws. It's supposed to be preserved because it provides very vital environmental services for us and for biodiversity. But they are filling it up. They are filling it up with construction waste that comes from roads. And then eventually what happens is that once they start dumping the excavated waste from construction of roads, people start identifying this as a place where they can come to dump all manner of waste. So you can see there's a lot of cement bags. There's also now a lot of construction waste that's coming from probably a site where they are constructing an apartment complex. But if this trend continues, what we'll end up seeing here in the next 5 years is that they'll fill up the wetland. And the people around here, somebody has already eyed this piece of land. They want to farm here, but most likely they want to build here because it's right next to the road. And as we are urbanizing, these pieces of land are becoming more valuable as developed land than for farming. So this is what's kind of driving that desire to reclaim land from nature and make it useful for commercial activity, which of course harms sustainability, it harms our environment, it prevents us from enjoying the environmental services that have been present here. So again, road construction is good. Road construction brings development, but it needs to be checked. It needs to be monitored. We need to do more and more analysis of the road projects that we are planning to do. There needs to be accountability when it comes to environmental impact assessments before, during, and after. Unfortunately, most citizens are not aware of even what an environmental impact assessment is. So we are not going to have citizens demanding in the next election that we want to have an environmental impact assessment done. It's not going to happen. And so our leaders know, our politicians know that these are not issues they need to worry about, because the normal mwananchi out there is more worried about taking their child to school, being able to afford very, very basic bills. But it's important for those of us who have the awareness, for those of us who have the expertise to see what environmental degradation looks like, to keep talking about this. And so there might be urban planners out there, there might be policymakers out there, there might be researchers who are interested in understanding how urbanization is unfolding in Africa. And my hope is that we connect and we continue to raise the alarm on this kind of environmental degradation. And we advocate that we can build roads, we can develop without destroying our environment and without destroying our future.